Hi, I'm Amy Schroeder, and I founded the DIY Business Association about a year ago. Our mission is to empower and connect creative small businesses and self-employed people because we believe it takes a community to do it yourself. Our website features content that helps you thrive in the entrepreneurial age. We've got expert advice, we've got a column about hustling, we've got startup tips, and we've got a feature called DIY Business of the Week that features cool businesses like yours. In the last year, we've also done a number of events, including an all-day conference in Brooklyn. This is a workshop called Get Funding ASAP. And most recently, we did an event called Speed Connecting, which is all about collaborative entrepreneurship. But first, I want to tell you quickly where I'm coming from. I started my first business. It was called Venus, a magazine about women and music and DIY culture in my dorm room when I was 19. I did that for 13 years, sold the company, moved from Chicago to New York about 3 years ago. And I decided to start over completely from scratch. And I did that by working 2 full-time day jobs, one for the Girl Scouts, one for HarperCollins. My goal was actually to save up a year's salary because I wanted to eventually start another company, but I didn't know what that company was. So about a year ago, after doing some brainstorming, it just kind of hit me. I wanted to start a company that would help creative people become better business people. And that's how the DIY Business Association was born. And I've learned a lot about this creative entrepreneurial community. Here are the things I've learned. 1, you have no shortage of ideas. 2, you are the opposite of lazy. You like to help others and you want to share information. And you are leaders, whether you realize it or not. But you also need help with some things. You need help with turning your ideas into money or salaries, not getting burned out, and developing systems and processes of some sort. Because I don't know if you're like me, but I'm a creative person. It's hard for me to figure out how to get stuff done in an efficient way. So I created what's called the Get Stuff Done system for DIY businesses. And I'm not going to cover the whole thing today. We're just going to talk about the first part. But really quickly, the first step of this system is create a big, hairy, audacious goal. And secondly, set major milestones. And thirdly, chunk out the work into next attainable action steps. Back there on the table, I've got printouts on how this works. But today, we're really just going to talk about the first step, which is what is your big, hairy, audacious goal, or BHAG for short. And it's all about trying to figure out what you really want to do with your life, professionally speaking. There are some key characteristics to the BHAG. The first is thinking big and visionary, coming up with something that's clear and compelling so people understand what you're talking about in about 2 sentences or less. And also, you've got to have a BHAG that's a catalyst for team spirit so people can rally behind you and want to support you for your BHAG. I did not create the BHAG. It's actually coming from 2 authors of a book called Built to Last from the mid-1990s. This book comes from the research of studying really successful CEOs, and they found that these CEOs had BHAGs, or really big, hairy, audacious goals. For instance, Amazon's BHAG, which they wrote, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, is every book ever printed in any language, all available in less than 60 seconds. Another example of a company BHAG is Twitter's, which they wrote, I think, just a couple of years ago. Become the pulse of the planet, which I think they've done. And next, I'm going to talk about the personal BHAG, which isn't really talked about a lot, and that's why I'm here. I'm going to tell you about my friend Amber Adams, who's a New York journalist who's working on a documentary film. Her personal BHAG is to become a thought leader for the unstoppable generation innovation movement, and she's working on that right now. So I just want to leave you with this as we're thinking today. What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? Some of you might be like, oh, I know what it is. But for others of you, including myself, it might take some time to figure out what it is. My big, hairy, audacious goal is to become a leader in the collaborative entrepreneurship movement, and I'm working on that. It might take me several years, and that's totally cool. The other thing I just want to bring up really quickly is that with the BHAG, it's an evolutionary process, meaning it's about getting your hands dirty with entrepreneurship, starting where you are, and as you go along your journey or your path of working on your BHAG, if you don't like it, you can always edit it, change it, you can pivot, and yeah. So in my group later, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the BHAG and what your goals are, but mainly about collaborative entrepreneurship, because the way I see it, there's a lot of incredibly talented people here, and how can we potentially work together? So it's really just going to be a roundtable discussion to talk about what you're working on and what you need help with. Thank you.